Okay, I do hereby call this meeting of the Maize City Council to order and ask for a roll.
Councilmember Kevin Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Alex McCready.
Here.
President Jennifer Harrington.
Here.
Mayor Pat Stivers.
Here.
Councilmember Jeff Elmore.
Here.
Councilmember Dr. David Long.
Here. Great. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You be seated. All right, item number 4 is the approval of the agenda. Any changes from staff?
No changes at this point.
Any changes from council or any comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I would move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, public comments. Do we have any? User? Thank you. Hi. You guys are going to public comment, huh? Don and Chris. Who wants to speak first? Okay.
I think we're gonna address them
That's what I
during
thought. So
during the other
So
item.
we're gonna just kind of put this back here and we'll let you talk here in a minute, okay? Let's move on to item number 6, which is the consent agenda.
I would move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now, item number 7A is the Goddard Chamber collaboration. Let's start off, Nick.
Yeah, I'll start us off. When I first got here and arrived at the city of Maize, just a little bit over a year ago, one of the topics we had was what can we do to create a sustainable chamber? And we had some early conversations with the Goddard Chamber potentially about some sort of a merger between the Goddard and the Maize Chamber. And some of the terms and stuff as it related to that, I think kind of made it difficult initially. We've had some more recent conversations with the Goddard Chamber, and I think some of our discussions were how do we mutually benefit from some sort of a relationship where we'd come together and have a joint chamber. And we had, I don't know, it's probably about a month ago, we had some initial conversations with Cresta Dundas that's here today. And then I had an opportunity to sit in with their, both Tristan and I had an opportunity to sit in with their board and their retreat that they had several weeks back. And, what kind of came about from it is let's put together a memorandum of understanding as to what our expectations would be if we were to come together and do a joint chamber. And so you actually in your packets have a copy of that MOU that the city initially put together with the hopes of giving to the Maize or to the Goddard Chamber to have them look at it and to see whether those were workable things. We spent part of that retreat talking through what we thought a potential relationship might look like. And, as you look through that MOU, some of the things we talk about are potentially rebranding and also just some of the expectations we'd have with Maize businesses. For us as a Maize, the city of Maize to become a member of that, we obviously had some expectations that they would serve our businesses in a certain way. And so if you look at that MOU, you can kind of, I won't hit through all the details of it, but ultimately that MOU is what resulted in that. I wanted to give an opportunity for you to meet with Cresta and also with Don. I'm sorry, Don. And Don, you're the board chair, right, currently. They just made a switch over here after I left my last meeting. So they're here to maybe give you a little bit of a idea where they plan to go direction wise and to answer any questions that you might have of them. So the table is yours for you to maybe talk a little bit, and if you want to come up to the podium and address it.
Well, I'm Cresta Dundas. I'm the president and CEO of the Goddard Chamber. Is that my mom? We have been talking about doing some kind of a collaboration with the city of Maize. I know that there have been conversations before my leadership, the former leadership at the Goddard Chamber had, I guess, talked with you guys formally. And the conversation has just continued in our board meetings. And we had a nice meeting with Nick and Tristan and the mayor, and came up with some ideas on how we could collaborate and what that might look like, and possible rebranding to something similar to Western Sedgwick County Chamber of Commerce, and then adding the cities underneath Goddard, Maize, having a separate page on our website for the city of Maize to help promote your events, help promote your sponsorships that you have that help run your events, help with the collaboration with ribbon cuttings and different things. So I think a lot of that's outlined in the MOU, and Dawn and I are here to answer questions and kind of give some more clarification if you'd like.
I will mention one of the discussion points that came out of as we sat, and I sat in the board retreat, was maybe for peace of mind for our businesses, that we set up a meeting with our local businesses here in Maize. We set up an opportunity for all of those businesses to come out and listen and make a decision on their own whether this is a good move for our Maize businesses. We've had that discussion. In the meantime, I've been working with staff to generate that list of all the Maize businesses that we have. And if your direction is to go forward, my recommendation would be that we do it subject to approval of subject to having that meeting and hopefully hearing some positive feedback that this is a good direction forward. The other thing I'd ask of you today, unless there's anything that you think would prevent this from going forward, I'd ask that you guys would approve the MOU on behalf of the city, and we'd get that signed, sent over. And then the last thing would be, assuming the meeting goes well, and that we'd go ahead and actually approve a membership. And we've talked about doing a trustee level membership, which is the highest level. It's $20,000 a year. 10,000. I'm sorry, 10,000 a year. And we would actually, as you look at that MOU, we'd actually have a ex officio seat on the board, the similar as what the city of Goddard has.
I believe you had, in addition to us being on the board, you had some other openings for some Maize businesses to join. Is that correct?
I've already done, we kind of left that at our last meeting that I'd ask around and see who might be interested in that. And I've already started to do a little bit of that to see who might be a good fit of our very active businesses. And so I've probably got still some more opportunities, and I hope that maybe out of this meeting, you're able to find out who might have a desire to do that as well.
I can say that I've been kind of prodding around with talking to some folks that I know in Maize, like places I visit and stuff, and the response has been an overwhelmingly yes. They can't wait to sign up, and they like the idea that it would be a Western Sedgwick County chamber, and they have reservations about joining the Wichita chamber because they feel they get swallowed up. by Wichita, and that everything's about Wichita and nothing about the surroundings. So this would, in my opinion, be good for this part of Sedgwick County. I also spoke with the city of Clearwater today on some things, and they were very excited about the possibility of this. And some of the other cities that person knew felt, or she felt, that they would also really like to do this. So I think you could get Clearwater, you could get Colwich, you could get Andale, you could get Garden Plain, Cheney, all those, everything that we want out here. I think it's possible. And the neat thing about this is it would represent us out here, and we wouldn't get swallowed up by the city of Maine.
One concern I have, what are the other levels of sponsorship?
Sponsorship or membership?
I guess membership.
Okay, we have a tiered system, and it starts at our bronze, which is $325, and it goes up from there. And I did bring some packets that I can leave with you so that you can get all the details on all of those memberships.
Perfect.
You get a list of base benefits, and then as you go up, each tier includes more benefits.
Perfect.
That the trustee level is the only membership that includes a seat on our board.
And currently, how many trustee level members?
We have one right now, the city of Goddard.
The city of Goddard.
Mhm.
You want to kind of briefly go over some of the services that are provided by the county or by the chamber a little bit?
Sure. So we, of course, offer networking events for members. The good thing about the Goddard Chamber is that we also invite non-members to join our networking events. So if you're not sure about what a chamber is or why you would want to join, we do welcome guests to come. It's not necessarily a pay to play. If you want to come and network with our other businesses, you can certainly do that as a guest. In addition to networking events, we do a lot of marketing and social media promotion for our members. If you're a business owner and you have an event that's coming up and you want to promote that, then we promote that on our website. We do have a community calendar that includes not only the chamber events, but also our member events. So same thing with the city of Maize. We would promote the events that you have going on here in the city. And my thoughts are, again, making that a separate page on our website, where the city of Maize has their own landing page on our website, where if you're interested in looking at what Maize has going on, we could do a separate calendar. I mean, that can look however you want, but we could do a separate calendar there for the city of Maize, clickable links to the businesses, to the events, registration pages, and clickable link, of course, to the city website. We also offer for businesses job postings. So if you're hiring, we promote that for you. You're a member, so would you like to?
Can you go back to the networking? I mean, is it once a week, once a month? I mean, do you have a luncheon? Do you have, I mean, what is it? Coffee? Is it?
So we do a monthly cards and coffee. That's on the third Thursday of every month. And then we do a monthly luncheon, and that's on the second Thursday of every month. And then we also do a quarterly after hours. And that will be from somewhere between like 4:30 to 6:30 in that late afternoon, evening. And we're looking at doing similar to some of those events, kind of copy and paste into the city of Maize to where those events are held at venues that are here.
That was one thing when we had our meeting, to make sure that it wasn't exclusive just to the Goddard community or just to the Maize. So you might have cards and coffee 1 month at, in Goddard, and then you have like the monthly luncheon in Maize. So it's just that way you're bringing the communities together. The other thing that our membership does include, that a lot of the other chambers do not, that I take a lot of benefit from, is you can buy gift cards through the chamber and utilize them at member businesses. So it's member to member. And that's, I think, a huge benefit as well.
Yeah, that's a really unique benefit. I spent 10 years at the Wichita Chamber as the vice president of membership. And, there's a lot of similarities to the benefits that are offered there versus at the Goddard Chamber. But that's one thing too that really stuck out to me is that gift card program. It really promotes the small businesses. So that's one unique thing. But there's tons of benefits. And if you guys, want to look over the list and you have any specific questions, we're happy to help.
I assume it's online as to the current members that are already within your chamber. I
Yes.
would assume there might be some Maize
We do.
companies already.
Yes, we do. We have about almost 50% of our membership is outside of Goddard. So that would encompass the West Wichita area. We have a couple in Cheney, a couple in Colwich, Andale, Maize.
Yeah, I just noticed you have this youth entrepreneur membership,
Yes.
and they said they have the opportunity to participate in Go Goddard Community Card Merchant Program. So if we decide to join, is that possible? We have also kind of like a Maize community card membership. Oh, I just don't know how this would work.
Yes, so that would, the city of Maize businesses would have the same benefits. So they would sign up for that program and then they would be listed on that specific page in the website. You purchase the gift cards and then you can use them at any of the participating businesses that sign up for it. And it's free to participate in that. And the youth entrepreneur membership would include that benefit. And that's a new membership level that we created for this year because we do have some youth entrepreneur fairs that we have a specific member that kind of, coordinates all of that. And we thought it might be kind of a cool idea to offer something like that to the younger generation.
So the 250, it says memberships in, let's see, must already have at least a bronze level and membership in good standing. So what would make it so it's bad standing? Not paying their bill or?
90 plus past due. So that's
Oh,
the
the
second.
past-
Yeah,
past.
and that would be for a second business. So
Oh, okay.
if you have a bronze level membership at $325 and then you own another business, your second business would get a discounted rate at with the same benefits.
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Anything else? Good. Nick?
I don't think so, other than, I think the conversation's gone extremely well. And as much as the same as what you've experienced, Mayor, as I've talked to some of the businesses, and I've seen some excitement for this opportunity to have something like this. And we did indicate that, we want to be able to offer ribbon cuttings and have opportunities for you, the council, to be able, you council, if you're available, or staff to be there to help memorialize some of that stuff as well. So we want to be an active part of trying to promote our businesses. And I think this will be a great opportunity for those businesses that want to participate.
I also want to add, I feel like this would be a pretty easy transition. My goal is to have the rebrand finished by the end of first quarter. And we already have the software, the database. I mean, it's already built into what we do. So there wouldn't be any purchasing of a new website or a new database or anything like that. We already have that up and running. And so event registrations and then promotion of city events and that type of thing would be an easy add-on to our website. And I do have full control over our website. So that can, again, look however you guys would want it to look like. But I feel like with all of those things that we already have in place, it would be a fairly easy transition. Right. We are currently looking at an opportunity to move our office kind of halfway between Maize and Goddard. And we'll have a kind of a final idea on that after our board meeting tomorrow.
Let's take a stab.
I would recommend or move that we establish a community meeting inviting all businesses in Maize and adjacent areas to Maize to explore the interest or concerns of expanding the chamber. And subject to the meeting having positive feedback, I would authorize signature on behalf of the City of Maize to participate in the MOU between the Goddard Chamber of Commerce and the City of Maize. After all due diligence, including interest from Maize communities, we would be able to enter into, or authorize us to enter into, committing to a 1-year participation at the trustee level membership of the joint Maize Goddard Western Sedgwick County Chamber. That was a lot.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to establish a community meeting inviting all businesses in Maize and in the adjacent areas to Maize to explore interests or concerns in expanding the chamber, in an expanded chamber. Authorize the signature on behalf of the City of Maize to participate, MOU between Goddard Chamber of Commerce and the City of Maize. And after all due diligence, including interest from Maize communities, enter authorized staff to commit to a 1-year participation as a trustee level member of the joint Maize Goddard Western Sedgwick County Chamber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There you go. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it very much. I think this is going to be good. I'm excited.
We're very
This is something I've wanted for a long time, personal.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Item B, records retention policy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have presented you with a records retention policy that our local government is responsible for maintaining all of our records and for local government. We've developed this policy to ensure we're following the Kansas Records Act. And it comes in many forms. It's paper, electronic, email, any of the records that we keep here to maintain efficiently. They have a minimum length of time usually to be kept, like 3 to 5 years, but you can retain them for longer. I have gone over with each of the departments here to see what they keep, what records they keep, and how they keep them to make the records retention schedule. That can be reviewed we'll review it annually every year to go through it to see if something needs to be taken off or switched to a different department. If it needs to be destroyed, it must be destroyed because anything that we keep here in our possession is subject to somebody giving us a records request, and that has to be given over to them. It will have to be reviewed by the city manager and the city clerk, which requires their approval. So they will have to write out what they are going to destroy. If they're going to destroy any of the records, has to be approved. So it's my recommendation to approve the retention policy. And we also created this policy because we needed to have it for our local government here, so we had that in place.
But we've been doing this for years, right?
Have been.
Right.
What this kind of does is allows us to clear out records and some of the records as we, over time, if you look at where our records are stored, it's quite extensive. And
Right.
as we can become more and more paperless, there is specific guidance from the state of Kansas on a lot of these. And so the policy you have before you kind of reflects what state requires, plus after multiple discussions with staff, how we handle other pieces of other documents that might be important for us to retain. This just formalizes it.
Right. Yeah.
No questions. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve City of Maize, Kansas records retention policy.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the City of Maize, Kansas records retention policy. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't get to stick around for the fireworks, huh? Item C, fireworks tent permitting fee costs.
On this one, I will tell you that we need to make two separate motions. If you choose to approve it, the motion to approve the ordinance and then the motion to approve the
So a little background on this particular piece. Back in 2022, we raised our permit fees to $6,000. The thing that really changes in this whole equation is that the city of Wichita had a major change to their firework ordinance last year to basically allow most of the same fireworks that a lot of the surrounding cities already allowed. And they established their fee. I don't know if they actually changed their fee, but their fee is $1,500 for a firework tent. And as you look at those changes, we have to make sure we stay competitive if we want to continue to have that opportunity to have those fireworks stands here in Maize. And as a result, what you see is a recommendation that you go to, we actually lower our fees to $2,000. And if you so choose to do that today, we'd actually notify all of our past permit holders and let them know. We've started to have inquiries about those, and as a result, we just want to make sure we stay competitive in our opportunities there.
Was the chief and the fire, is it the fire department down here that they kind of regulate of the distance and where they can?
Yeah, they still have to go through Sedgwick County Fire Department
Right.
to permit everything and make sure it's done properly.
We'll put that on our Facebook or our websites also, right?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay.
Just as I guess as a financial consideration, we did lower what our expectations were this last budget year in anticipation of a much more competitive market for that. And so whether we hit our number or not, we did lower it quite a bit, our revenue expectations.
Nick, it seemed like in the past there was, at least I recall some discussion about if you wanted to have a fireworks tent in the city of Maize, you had to be tied in with a nonprofit. Did I miss that as part of the ordinance though, or is that like an unwritten? Where am I not seeing that? Oh, I'm sorry, I see it now. It's D2.
Because nobody said anything about it, but if you want to, that might be part of your competition. Change that.
Historically, it's been that it had to be a nonprofit for something in Maize. Yeah, that, so because we used to have a competition for Maize Road specifically, and so we had grandfathered those folks in, and if it was a school, we wanted to kind of protect those guys a little bit, but I think at some point in time, I'm not sure that we weren't threatened with a lawsuit because we were restricting or something. I don't recall.
I don't think we were, sorry, I don't think we were threatened with a lawsuit, but I think we talked about the possibility, and that had to do with placing a limit on the number of fireworks stands we would allow.
That's what it was. I remember the gentleman was in the room, and that's basically, that's right. That's what that was.
It's a antitrust kind of issue.
At one time, we had limited it to like 6 or something like that, and yeah.
So do we want to look at that?
I'm curious about it. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize all the school
Right.
tents and everything that you see, but
I mean, we could keep it that way this year and see what the fallout is, and lower the fee, of course, to the staff's recommendation to be more competitive with Wichita, but at the same time, maybe keep the nonprofit for Maize and see how that, we're kind of, I mean, we want the schools and stuff in Maize to be able to sell their stuff, and we don't want them to compete necessarily with a nonprofit type thing. But legally, I assume we can do that. I don't know.
Primarily, all of the permits that we receive now are schools,
Yeah.
Lions Club, well, not Lions Club anymore, but
Right.
civic
Right.
groups.
I would assume Wichita has no such requirement.
No.
I don't believe so.
I don't know the answer, but that's my guess.
So we had never had any requirements that say some Joe Blow comes off the street and says, hey, listen, I want to sell fireworks. Have we had anything like that?
We have.
We have.
We always let them know that it's a requirement to have a nonprofit status.
Are the fireworks available in Maize the exact same as Wichita, or is there some slight differences
There
now?
might be some ever so slight differences. I'm not 100% sure, but it's very close now as opposed to what it was a year ago. I will say that, in the communities I've been, we have something very similar that we held it to not, you had to be supportive of a not-for-profit. So that's not unusual, I think, around the state.
So if, I'll just use David's area. So if Mystic Lakes decide to say, we're going to sell fireworks, they can't do it, right?
You still have to abide by the use requirements.
Well, if he's got a nonprofit for the
Nonprofit.
water skiing or something, yeah. he
Yeah,
can
then
do
they
it.
could, but if it's
Sure.
not nonprofit,
The location of it's still dictated by, I
But
think,
if
the
it's for a
use.
specific family, just because they want to make money, then with us, that's an issue.
okay, all right.
So, I guess, I don't know if you want any more discussion with regard to the nonprofits in Maize or not. If you just want to leave it in the ordinance as it's stated, then we can just go to what's on the recommendation with 2 separate motions for today.
Well, maybe we just see what this does, and then maybe next year we can look at it in the notes, because,
That would be my attitude.
yeah, just to tweak it a little at a time.
We tweaked it 4 years in a row at one time. So
Okay.
it's the ordinance that keeps coming back.
I will point out that there's one major change in this is that you won't have to bring the ordinance back in the future. You'll just be able to do a simple motion. Or in our case, we'd like to start doing a annual fee resolution. And the way it's rewritten actually allows you to put it into a fee resolution. So we don't have to bring the ordinance back every time.
Okay. So we need 2 motions. We'll do item 1 and then item 2, whoever wants to do that.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the ordinance setting permit fees to sell fireworks and adjusting previous permit fees for the city of Maize by simple motion or resolution.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the ordinance setting permit fees to sell fireworks and adjusting previous permit fees for the city of Maize by simple motion or resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2.
I would move we set a fireworks sales permit for the city of Maize for 2025 at $2,000.
Be 2025 and beyond until you change it.
Right, 2025 and beyond, sorry. It just didn't have a date in there, so I tried to throw it in.
A motion and a second to set fireworks sales permits in the city of Maize for 2025 and beyond at $2,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item D, Kathy Property Test Well, Sergeant Drilling.
I was hoping you would have Nick, but he is under the weather today. Nick Festerine, our Public Works Director, and as a result, you got me. We have been, as you know, we've been talking extensively about how we secure additional opportunities for more water rights and an additional well location. We had a location that kind of fell through here last year, and as we've looked at potential opportunities, we look at a lot of things like safe yields, where there's potential water rights that we could acquire. And as we've looked at locations, one of the locations that I think really makes a lot of sense because we already control and own the property is the Kathy property. The park property right off of Academy Road. And as we looked at that, we did some safe yields and we've kind of looked at that. We really truly think that this might be a good location for a potential next well. We actually want to continue to look for a fourth well site at some point, but we'd like to do some exploration into the possibilities of that well site. And what we're asking today is to authorize us to kind of take some of the next steps to work with Sergeant Drilling. I will say we did talk around to some of the various well service companies. And this one happened to be one that would be available a little bit sooner rather than later. The others, they're looking quite a bit out. And talking with some of the engineering firms we've had conversations with, they feel that that amount is fairly competitive for what we'd be looking at doing in terms of doing this test well. One of the advantages seems like quite a bit of money. The $41,327 that's recommended. But one of the things that this will allow us to do is if we find out that we have sufficient water, we're successful at getting the permit. Is the great news is we'll be able to use this test well site to actually put our well in. It'll save us probably anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 that we won't have to pay to actually bring in the permanent well that would go at that location. So we're able to create some of that savings if we move forward with a well site on that location. So we are in the process of talking to engineering firms, if you approve this today, to make sure we locate it at the best location, to make sure we can get the right safe yield, and well sites can't be in locations that are in a floodplain. There is a lot of water that flows through that property, so we want to make sure we locate it at a location that best meets our needs. And so we're still evaluating that. And if you approve this going forward today, we actually met with one of the engineering firms that we've talked with. We will be bringing you a request at our second meeting in February to enter into an agreement to do some work with one of the engineering firms we've discussed to actually continue to help us with our existing water rights and to help secure this well and look at water opportunities beyond here. So, but with that, we would, what I'd ask is for authorization today, and we'd make sure we've done several other due diligence pieces before we actually pull the trigger on this. One, making sure we did a safe yield analysis through GMD number 2 several months back, almost 6 months back. We want to make sure we do one more before we would sink this well to make sure that there's available water rights in the area. But the great part is we wouldn't have to purchase water rights. We'd apply for open rights is what we'd be looking to do.
Excuse me. So if this is a good well, we don't have far to run it to go over to the water tower. We can tap right into that.
That could seamlessly go into our system.
Yeah.
And you know, as we've talked about where wells are located, they're in a linear pattern. So at some point in our future, we may have to look at treating our water. That may be a thing we have to look at. And the good news is it's fairly close to our existing wells.
Are we fairly confident that that may indeed happen? Or, I mean, it's kind of like drilling for oil or,
We've had conversations. Nothing's for sure ever. But we asked that question specifically. You're talking a $40,000 plus investment. What's the likelihood that it'll be approved? That safe yield analysis, that next piece, just to make sure we're still have available rights in the area. The big question will be quality of the water that you sink there. We know that the further north you go, there's more challenges with the quality of the water. And so for me, that's the biggest question that exists out there. But I think quantity wise, as long as we meet the safe yield requirements, that it's a fairly good shot at the quantity of water that we'd potentially need to at least secure us and improve our current standing where we've got available water rights. But nothing's for sure. We could come in here and we could find that when they sink that well, we could find that it doesn't meet the quality we need, and we'd be back to the drawing board. But the great news is we don't have to secure. We own the property as it currently stands, and so.
who came up with the 200 feet? Is that something they came up with, or? It says drill 200 feet test hole.
And what are the safe yield requirements?
The safe yield requirements are based upon where there's other wells in the area.
Okay.
So, and what water rights they currently have. There's not infinite water rights in areas. And so that's really what that safe yield
We've been
does.
struggling with this for, I'm going to say, a decade or
Well,
more, going back.
seems like that's right in that area of groundwater contamination from the,
It is, and we looked at a lot of that data. There was some contamination from the Coleman plant at one point, and they did receive an all clear on that. So, but there is a little bit of risk in that stance that you're kind of in the same. You look where industrial park is, and you are in an area that if there was anything in the future, that could be a little bit of a risk. That's the other reason we'd want to look at it and try to secure a fourth well site at some point in the future as well. We won't stop doing that. I think it's important that we continue to look at our future, and so we're not struggling when right now we're sitting, and I don't want to quote an exact number, but it's somewhere between 70 and 85% of the water that we need right now from our two well sites. That's one of the things that I think you'll get to hear a little bit about at our second meeting, is how we can make sure we protect our current rights and what we do to make sure we continue to keep the water flowing in Maize.
You mentioned that, excuse me, Sargent is ready to go. Is it that urgent that we don't want to get bids from others?
Well, we could certainly do that, but I think from what Nick told me that they were out 6-7 months. So you got to understand, once we get this test well in, then we put in our permit to the state, and it can be another year, year and a half. So there's a lot of time after you get the well
Yeah.
in the ground. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to find somebody that could do it fairly quickly,
That makes
is
sense.
because it gets us into a step system where we have to put ours in, and then the state, the Kansas Water Office, and GMD to do a lot of analysis, and it's a very, very timely process. That was one of our biggest challenges at the last piece of property we looked at. Is we put our permit in, and the property developed quicker than what we could get an approval from the state, which makes this a good situation because we own the property and we kind of control the ability in this property.
Remind me, where's Sarge Drill located at?
Salina.
Where?
Salina.
Salina.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Huh.
Any more questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve the proposal to install a test well and perform associated testing at the Cathy property for an amount not to exceed $41,327 and authorize staff to proceed.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proposal to install a test well and perform associated testing at the Cathy property for an amount not to exceed $41,327 and authorize staff to proceed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last item, item G, is Garver Engineering Agreement, Eagle View Estates Garage Condos.
You're stuck with me again on this one. Unfortunately, it's the next show today. But what this particular request is, back on November 18th of 2024, you approved a petition and authorizing resolution to extend sewer to the garage condos adjacent to Eagle View Estates, which is right off of Fifth, which would be just south of 53rd, right off of 53rd, just to the south, between Maize Road and 119th. And in particular, they needed to extend the sanitary sewer to be able to provide services to the garage condos that were approved in that piece. And what this does today is actually approves the engineering and the engineering design with Garver to go forward and make that design for that sewer extension.
And again, these go in as specials, right? This would be
Yeah, these would be assessed to the property.
much like a regular house or duplex.
The existing houses that are out on there, I think, already have access to water and sewer, and so at least the sewer side, I think.
Is this one that's going to hit homeowners again that have already
These are garage condos, so these would be
these assessed?
it'd be the individual owners. I would assume it would be assessed out to the individual owners of the garage condo. So it's,
Do you remember how many they were going to make on these?
I don't remember right off the top of my head.
This isn't a large amount, so to speak.
It's a relatively small parcel of that property. The majority of it will be duplexes.
Because I think they're building some more of these down at 21st and 119th. At least I've seen the sign, but it's been there for a while. So,
There's several of these on the west side that are being established.
you bring it in your car.
You see that, you can actually see the map on the second page that shows you relative to the size that they do down here. They've had to extend the drainage, so you kind of see that open area below to make sure there's a lot of water that comes through here. So they did have to make some adjustments to that area. It's quite extensive area for drainage that they've added back there to the south of that.
Somewhere between 45 and 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are the duplexes though, right?
Yeah.
The yellow spot is where,
Yellow spot is where the garage condos are and
Oh.
the red ones are the
Oh,
duplexes.
never mind. Okay.
I'm not totally sure how many actual garage condos they're talking about adding.
There aren't going to be a lot then. Okay. Okay. No more questions. If anybody wants to make a recommendation?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the agreement with Garver LLC in an amount not to exceed $14,775 for sanitary sewer lateral for Eagle View Estates. Yeah. Lot 1, Block 2, pending the city attorney's approval as to form.
I've already approved it.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Garver LLC in an amount not to exceed $14,775 for a sanitary sewer for the Eagle View Estates, Lot 1, Block 2, pending, well, the city attorney's already approved the form. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This concludes the last item on our agenda. Anything else? If not, we're not going into executive session, so I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. See you in a couple weeks.
So do we have anybody going to the